Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast and seasonal Spider-Man review show. I'm your director, Christian Buckley, joined as always by the Apex legend, Jack Martin.
Excelsior, Christian. Speaking of Apex Legends, you see the new trailer for that new map?
I did. I saw the Halloween trailer too, and my boy Revenant's getting a good skin this year.
Yeah, I've been fully out of Apex for the past couple of months, haven't even touched it. But they got some good stuff going on in that game. I'm very excited. New maps always get me very interested. This is a tropical island setting, so very happy about that.
While we're talking about it, Destiny, their Festival of the Lost, their yearly thing, and I love that we brought up Destiny and Apex in the first 30 seconds of this episode. Destiny's Halloween event this year, they got some amazing armor. There was a fan vote earlier this year for, this is the 3 classes. They each got their own unique armor set. It was Team Monster or Team Dinosaur, and Dinos won, as they should. So you can get like a cool T-Rex for your Titan. You can get a Triceratops for your Warlock, my dude. Very creative things. I've seen some Power Ranger combinations and customizations. It's fun. So.
That's cool. That's very cool. And it's not the only Halloween stuff we get to talk about today.
Absolutely not, and that makes me so happy. But how are you doing in general? Any Marvel stuff lately?
Aside from the Spidey rewatch and the depression associated with the most recent one, not too much Marvel stuff. I'm in full baseball mode, as you are. I've noticed. Our Boston Red Sox are very close to elimination, but they are in the dance. They are in the American League Championship Series. They got to win 2 games, and they've got to do it in Houston. So very nerve-wracking, but that is where all my attention is right now. But how are you doing?
Doing good. Yep. Same as you. I've been following. I usually keep tabs if I don't watch every game in the regular season. I like just following the stats and everything, and then playoffs, of course. But the only game time I've had is Animal Crossing. I did get into Spider-Man. I downloaded it again just to swing around in the Raimi suit. But aside from that, nothing outside of prepping for the show. But speaking of the show, why don't we get into it? Because we got a brief little run-through for Fury's report this week. There's a new patch out now, available on all consoles. Patch 2.0.4 has a bunch of bug fixes for, nothing super major. But if you're interested, the War Table blog always details patch notes. I'll say this. Also, no comment still on the XP boosters and things you can buy that we talked about extensively last week.
Yeah,
have your
that
thoughts
won't change.
Changed?
No, it's very silly that this is a thing. All the circumstances we talked about last week, they'll never comment about it. It's been 3 weeks at this point, I think, by when this episode posts, maybe 2. They're not going to talk about it, and they don't really need to at this point. For on their side, they've kind of avoided that initial annoyance from players, and then people are talking about other things of the game right now, so it's really not a thing they're going to discuss, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. We landed on it last week expecting them to not comment on this, and we are being proven right again. I think if there's no comment next week, I'll stop bringing it up, because I really don't think they're going to address this, even justifying why they're doing it or anything like that. But
no, yeah. It would honestly be weird if in a week or 2 they started talking about it. It's you missed that bus, buddy.
Yeah, big time. There's also currently in the game a returning event. It is the Cosmic Threat event, correct?
The Cosmic Threat event is the returning one.
Cool.
This is the Tachyon?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that I saw that and I was like, please don't be that one. And it is, but whatever.
I will say props to them though, because with this current event that's going on right now, if you complete the event questline, you'll be able to unlock a Thor skin, which is fun.
Is that his shaved head Thor skin?
Shaved head, electric eyes. But it's his armor is like I think the exact same as the Stark suit from the Reassemble campaign at the end.
Yeah.
I'm kind of into the look though. He's got like some Kratos vibes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's one of those things where people have been clamoring for earnable skins, post-launch earnable skins, and this is one of those. So, good first step, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I'll probably hop in just to see what the quest line is sometime in the next couple days and get the Thor skin because it's a free skin. Thor's my main.
Totally.
What else am I gonna do?
Maybe I will too because I've only been playing Thor recently. Only.
Gotta get raid ready. Army of Thors. I know you did see this, but it's worth bringing up here as well. Avengers kind of shadow dropped an update for our boy Thor in his Endgame outfit. Now he's got MCU Mjolnir.
Yeah. Is that for the Infinity War skin? Is that like an update?
I think so. It has to be because there's no other MCU skin for Thor in the game right now.
Did you see this for yourself, or was it just floating around online?
Just floating around online. I have not fact checked, but I saw Play Avenger retweeted, and I get most of my information from them, and I trust them. They have yet to fail me.
Same. That's really interesting. Like, hey, this probably should have been on the skin earlier, so here it is.
Yeah. So very cool. Moving on. Marketplace. We got some things to discuss. You mentioned Halloween was going to be discussed in some capacity beyond our other service games. Not only do we have a very spooky themed War Table blog, which is fun, we also got some Halloween skins, Jack.
We do. And one of them, at the very least, is incredible.
Yes, which one is incredible?
That would be Captain America's Cap Wolf outfit. This is Captain America as a werewolf. He's a werewolf, and he's wearing the Captain America suit. He's got big old claws. This came out of nowhere. Did not know it was a comic thing. It looks crazy. It's amazing. I have been hoping for a single pumpkin. And you know what? They exceeded my expectations with this one skin. So, great stuff here.
Yeah, it's nice too because the skin that Cap is wearing here on top of the werewolf body is the iconic comic book. I think it's the Ultimate Captain America outfit, which is in the game. That's the name of it. It's the one with the scales. So it looks fantastic, I think. I have purchased too many Captain America skins to buy another one, but this is an awesome skin and maybe the coolest one in the game right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I love the wacky vibes that this one's given off. I think they should continue doing that with some other characters. I would love a jack-o'-lantern head on Iron Man for some reason. I think that'd be cool. It doesn't even have to be Halloween themed, just crazy skins for any occasion. But yeah, this is really cool. Did not know it was actually based on a comic, so might have to go read that. But yeah, I think what you said, I already have a Cap skin, and I'm certainly tempted by this, and maybe I'll get it. I think I'd get it if they were yeah, you can only get it for 1 week. Then I'd be all right, gotta think about that. But it does look awesome, so this is cool.
Alongside Cap Wolf, we did see team skins for Marvel's Avengers that are spooky Halloween themed. Some solid ones and some misses, I think.
Yeah, as it is for pretty much all of these team sets.
So let's go through these left to right. First up, we got Kate Bishop. She's looking like a vampire,
Yep.
Pale stone skin, lots of red, yellow eyes. I think that's a good look for her. I like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a pretty good look.
Black Widow, no idea what that is.
I think this would be good. She's supposed to look like a spider with the red eyes. I think that would look good if she didn't have Ronald McDonald's fucking hair on her head.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Something's going on with Black Widow's hair in this game, and the saturation is always dialed up to 200%. I think if she had like white hair maybe or black hair, this would look good, but it does not look good with the hair.
No, it doesn't. There's a lot going on. It looks like a Batman action figure I had from a kid. Remember when we were younger and there was like a million different Batman toys, and for some reason, like, this one has a red outfit. It's like, why? Why does he have that?
Yep.
This reminds me of that. Next up, we got a T'Challa Black Panther skin, which looks like it has some like ancestral plane, spiritual ghost stuff going on.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a ghost. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, personally.
Yeah, I like it, but it's not. It doesn't scream Halloween to me.
No.
You know. Next up, we got Frankenstein Hulk, which I think we all kind of expected, but they didn't go. I was hoping if they did Frankenstein Hulk, they like went for it.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like they went for it.
No, I think it's a missed opportunity. I feel like he should have gone full gray, the thing in the top of the head, that sort of deal. But he's like half gray, half green. He's got his beads going on. It's kind of a forgettable skin, honestly.
Yeah, it's rough because I feel like that was the easiest like 3-pointer they could have done. That was gonna be a slam dunk.
Yeah, totally.
Kamala Khan dead?
I think this looks like a reused Kamala Khan skin, and they just put the saturation down a little bit. Like
she looks like she's got like the crow makeup going on.
Yeah, it's not the best. This one's not the best.
I believe next is what they're referring to as Jack-o'-lantern Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
It is a orange Iron Man skin with glowing magma on the joints between all of his armor pieces. Very bright, shiny orange, and then the helmet got the pumpkin fangs. I like this one.
Yeah, I do like this one. This is another example of, man, I kind of wish they went all the way and like just straight up had a pumpkin on top of his head.
That'd be great.
That would have been really cool. I will say I don't like the form factor of this skin. These are the type of skins that I typically avoid for Iron Man. He has like the two, I don't even know what to call them, the things that are jutting out of. Yeah, they're like jutting out of his shoulders, and not a fan of that form factor. But I think I would say this is probably the best of the team outfit skins on display here.
I think, yeah, because it seems like with that one, they at least went for something, you know? Yeah. I do think, in terms of just presentation, I think I might like Kate's the best, because it's very clean, and it fits the theme, but...
She looks like the vampire companion from the Skyrim DLC that I'm forgetting the name of.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have Thor, who is also dead, I think.
Yeah,
Mummy, maybe?
I think it, like, him and Ms. Marvel's skins both just look like a little bit less colorful skins that already exist.
Yeah, like I look at this Thor though, and I think of very, very, very minor spoilers for a location in God of War, but it reminds me of the dead people in Hell. You know, there was like all the blue and green.
Yeah,
souls,
that's a good
I
call.
guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, you know, Thor could have been a vampire. He's got the cape.
I do appreciate the effort with all of these.
Oh yeah.
And like, I don't know. I feel like with these outfit skins, they're usually not the best. But I'm kind of hoping that over the course of a week or two, all of the heroes, or some of them at least, get the Catwolf out treatment and sort of get something that's kind of zany like that. Like, I hope that's not just the only one we get. I think it's amazing, but I think it'd be really cool if Thor got a crazy one, or if Iron Man, if Hulk got his full Frankenstein, like, really good treatment. I feel like that'd be really cool.
Hulk Solomon Grundy.
Yeah.
do it. But I agree with you. I hope we get to see the full-blown wacky treatment like Cap Wolf is, but I can't say I'm hopeful about that because Cap Wolf isn't featured here, so I imagine he would be the one to complete the set.
Yeah.
But that's really it for the game right now. When it comes to updates, in the blog, they said, hey, we know you want to hear stuff about this game, but we're not going to talk about it until November because Guardians of the Galaxy, our sister studio, Eidos, is about to put out their Marvel game. So spotlight's on them. Come back early November.
Makes sense. And keeps reminding me that I keep forgetting about Guardians of the Galaxy, which is out next Tuesday.
Yeah, man, I got to buy that thing.
Same.
So why don't we dip into Stark Realities? And I forget the original name I slapped on for a Guardians segment, but Guardians, let's do a quick hype check because we got a couple trailers over the last 2 weeks. We got like a cinematic. We got a lot of looks at some skins. We've seen everybody's MCU look. What are your hype levels right now for Guardians of the Galaxy?
I am, let's say, lowercase e excited. I think this will be a really fun single-player adventure. I don't think it's going to blow the roof off of anything. I think going in with high expectations might, sour people's opinions about this. So I'm expecting a fun action-adventure game that has probably some really good combat that people have described as similar to, like, the Final Fantasy remake system. And a good little fun, humorous back and forth with some of the Guardians and exploring the ship will be cool. The story department I don't think will be all that impressive or anything like that. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be like a solid 7.58 type of experience where you play it for a week or two and have a great time and then kind of put it away. But yeah, I think that's sort of what I'm going into this game with.
If this is a team who did a Tomb Raider game, so if I go into this and I walk away with really great combat, awesome set pieces, good music, some funny moments, and a story that is like on the level of something like the Uncharted trilogy in terms of just like, hey, good, well-paced, stakes are there, not like super memorable villain or whatever, just like, hey, you went through, you had a fun adventure, it was a fun time. I'd be happy with that. So.
Yeah, and I think that's what the game's ultimately going to be, which is great. I think.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen so many Star Wars games try to pitch themselves as like it's Uncharted, but Star Wars in space. And I feel like this has a shot, it's not going to play the same, obviously. Uncharted will probably always be tighter, but at least pacing-wise. How long do you think Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be?
I have a feeling this is probably like a 15-hour game.
Yeah. I'm hoping...
15 to 20?
I'm hoping low-end 13, no more than 20 is what I hope. Yeah.
See, that gets me excited. I miss, not that they're gone and away, but I miss a good, solid, linear game.
Mm-hmm. I really would like to see the opportunity to get lost in the game. Like, if they have, like, maybe a world where I can get 30 hours of it from just doing side quests, if we're going, like, Ratchet and Clank style of there's all these different planets you can go to, you can return to, that'd be great. But if I can crit path it, like you said, play it linear and be all good, all done in 15 hours, I'll be very pleased.
I think it'll probably be similar to Jedi Fallen Order in terms of like hopping back to planets, where like there'll be occasions where you can't get to places because of you don't have the gadget or whatever, and get like collectibles like that. I think it'd be really cool, to your point of having side quests, because for me, I'm going in with this with the expectation that it is very much like you follow the story and you can't really deviate too much, but it would be nice to have small little things along the way to go and get lost in. That'd be cool.
They should give us loyalty missions for each Guardian. Mass Effect 2 style. Drax, you need to avenge your family. You and me, let's go. Let's do it.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, a lot of people have been comparing the conversations on the Milano to Mass Effect, and what a great comparison that is.
Oh yeah, that's high praise. So
Yeah.
looking forward to playing this next week. We'll probably have like early impressions for next episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna pre-order it. I'm getting that physical copy. I'm trying to really build out my PlayStation 5 library, which so far it's Deathloop on my physical. So I gotta build a shelf out. But yeah, I'm gonna pre-order it, get it for Tuesday, play a little bit, have some impressions. Certainly not gonna beat the game, but
No.
should be good.
Oh yeah, so look forward to that on next episode. But meanwhile, got some bad news, Jack.
Really bad news, dude.
MCU, Marvel Studios, massive, I'd say massive for the scope of the MCU, massive delays.
Ugh, what is Spider-Man in 2023 now?
You know what? I'd be cool with it. You can toss that a couple of years out. I'd live. First up, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, originally coming out in March of 2022, now May 6th. That's the first, as far as we know, we don't know about Disney Plus, first major MCU project for next year.
My thought when I saw March to May, I was like, man, that is forever. But Doctor Strange was at the end of March, and now it's at the beginning of May. So it's like really, it's like a little bit more than a month. Yeah, so that's really not too bad.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes it feel worse is the ripple effect of this.
It really is the ripple effect. We talked about this with Spider-Man potentially being delayed, and like that would have had ripple effects, but I guess this does too.
So Multiverse of Madness is just basically about a month, but Thor Love and Thunder is now moving to July 8th, which is also not that bad. I think it was originally scheduled for May.
Yeah.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which was an August movie, is now November 11th.
Dude, I am going to be playing Starfield that day.
Oh my god, you're right.
And I'm going to be playing Skyrim. So it's a busy day, man. It's a busy day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, damn. I mean, Black Panther right now, with all the headlines floating around about the direction, and there's a lot of things to feel uneasy about. So if they need the time, the extended delay from August to November, probably a good call, you know?
Yeah, I'm also curious, like, why this is I don't think we got an explanation. It's just kind of the schedule change. I'm really curious as to why they changed their whole lineup.
The speculation and hearsay that I have read online is that Doctor Strange is changing some things up story-wise and shifting some things around. I've seen a lot of doom and gloom of people expecting, like, oh, because of what Tom Holland said, and now that they're doing some reshoots for, allegedly doing reshoots for Doctor Strange, is Spider-Man just going to be ripped out of the MCU forever now, and they're just going to cut him off of what's happening moving forward, and Doctor Strange has to accommodate for that with the reshoots. But again, that's just going down the rabbit hole of speculation at that point.
That would make me sad.
But the thing is, I'd believe it, you know? If it was true, I wouldn't be super surprised.
No, I mean, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah. The Marvels. You might be wondering, that was supposed to be in November. That's now February 2023. So that was a good 4-ish month push.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a really big jump.
Yep. Another big jump, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. July 2023 was originally February 2023.
Yeah, that's sad. But let's be honest here. Ant-Man is a July movie through and through.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp was July. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Cozy for them. In between that, though, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 for some reason is not being affected at all.
Perfect.
Love that. And neither is the holiday special, which is going to be hitting Disney Plus next year in December.
Yeah. So the holiday special is December 2022, right?
Mhm.
And then Guardians 3 is May 5th, 2023.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Also affected by all this, there were 2 untitled 2023 Marvel movies that have been removed from the schedule, while another will come out on November 3rd, 2023.
Man, this was big. This was really sad.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I'm glad Spider-Man didn't get moved. That's kind of the takeaway from this.
mm-hmm.
Like,
And
I wonder why.
you imagine because Ms. Marvel was delayed, maybe that's going to hit before Doctor Strange next year, potentially, in the first 5 months of the year.
Right.
Not to be feeding into the hysteria, Jack, but you see this thing, 2023, there were 2 Marvel movies, and one has been removed.
Oh no! Don't say it.
Is Spider-Man dead? Because we're getting Spider-Man movies like every 2 years. Is it dead? Is it gone? Did they rip the plug out on that one?
In the MCU, maybe. I don't think so. I think he's still in the MCU after this movie. I don't like all this speculation. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But we were texting saying that Sony's going to make as many Spider-Man movies as possible going forward. Mm-hmm. And they might just pick up where they left off with both of their franchise and say, fuck it, we have 1,000 Spider-Man movies, and it doesn't matter. You'll go see them anyways. Yeah. But, nah, man, I think he's in the MCU. I honestly think one of those... I don't know if that would be... I don't know if that was a Spider-Man movie. Could have been anything.
Yeah, you're right. It could be anything, but I'm just seeing opportunities for the kingdom to crumble here, and I don't like it, but can't lie, you know.
I was thinking like the rationale behind this, and like, you know, you would go to COVID, right, and then it affected Doctor Strange. We just have to push everything now. But if that was the case, they would have pushed Spider-Man because that's the most imminent one aside from Eternals. And they didn't, so that I don't think COVID really has too much to in terms of like audiences going to the theater, maybe like with production stuff, but I don't really think that was the rationale here.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I also heard I couldn't find a source on this or anything, but I did see some people give a baffling window for when Fantastic Four is supposed to start production.
What did they say?
I think it was like they're starting it in 2023, and I was like, are you kidding me?
No way.
That's not... I don't think that was true, but like there was a lot of conversation going on with this massive delay. The internet had their fun and said it was like, oh, Marvel's afraid of the Batman, which like there was already a 3-week gap. This wasn't a move for the Batman for Doctor Strange. Like Doctor Strange, I think, has permeated the way that, I mean, like anything with Marvel Studios on it now, I think he's going to do well, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So even against Batman,
it was funny that announcement did come after Matt Reeves' newest Batman trailer.
Yes, that was funny.
Great timing.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts on this delay? Personally, I'm hoping the Disney Plus shows next year are a bit more spread out, because it was great having the nonstop Marvel stuff this year after a year off, but I hope we find a good balance next year, personally.
I agree. I don't need 10 Marvel projects a year. Like, really don't. I think 5 would be the optimal amount. We used to get 3, and that was great.
Oh, yeah.
But now with, like, a bunch of... They have, like, 1,000 projects going on?
Yeah, that's what Feige said recently.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. So, like, I don't need 10 a year. 5 would be the happy medium, I think.
Well, while we're still talking bad news, Eternals has been not majorly, but a interesting spoiler regarding the post-credit scene of Eternals has been leaked by a member of the press who saw an early screening.
Yeah, do you know where this originated from?
I think it was someone from Variety.
Yeah, it was in like headlines, I know.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. And then there was a pretty extreme conversation that I saw of like the geeky fandom being like, if press want to have their jobs and if press are going to go to these movies, everybody at the premiere has to sign an NDA. And it was like, I don't know, that seems a little bit extreme. I think this person just did not realize what they were doing and saying. Because, like, I don't know, like an NDA for just getting into an early screening when, like, you're already supposed to have an embargo, like, that just seems a little extreme, I think.
No, yeah, that's extreme. Just don't be a jerk, man. Don't go for the scoops. I think that's probably what this was pretty much all about. We did get spoiled separately, not because we stumbled upon this, but because our girlfriends shared the news with us, not realizing it was a spoiler, which I think is absolutely hilarious.
And credit to Kayla. I think in general she doesn't really care about spoilers, but she was aware of this for a long time in terms of like the rumor behind this, because she like follows the MCU stuff pretty extensively, and she heard there was a rumor a while ago and mentioned it to me when they were shooting Eternals. So like the blow was softened a little bit, but not by much.
Yeah, I just think that is absolutely hilarious. How that news was disseminated to us. But yeah, honestly, it's not that big a deal. It would have been nice to have that surprise not spoiled in a couple weeks. But yeah, what can you do?
What can you do? I did see also it was like a featured trend on Twitter the other day. So if you're listening to the show, you're online constantly, you probably saw it. So I'm sorry.
It was honestly unavoidable.
Yeah. You just got to commit to it. It's like, that's kind of how I was with The Last of Us Part 2 leaks. I was like, I'm going to get it spoiled at some point. So instead of some idiot doing it for me, I'm going to look for myself. So
yeah, that's fair.
Good news, I guess, depending on how you look at this. Charlie Cox recently said that he would fight somebody in the street to play Daredevil again.
Good. Yeah. Good. I love the energy to that. He really is Daredevil, and there's been like a bunch of rumors that the Netflix cast is like coming back for something or another. Yeah, man, they got to get him back. I will not accept anyone else playing Daredevil.
Yeah,
neither will he, apparently.
Yeah. And he's willing to do what needs to be done to make sure nobody can play Daredevil.
Yeah, dude, that's my Daredevil right there.
Honestly, I feel like we haven't talked a ton about the Netflix shows together on Excelsior in like any version of the show, but
no.
Daredevil was the only one that I like fully watched. Like I watched a little Iron Fist, I watched a little Punisher. I wanted to watch Jessica Jones, but I just never got around to it. Same with Luke Cage. And I never watched Defenders, but Daredevil, they could work. They could work it in for sure. Yeah,
no, I loved Daredevil. Season 1 was amazing. 2 was good, kind of lost itself. 3 was also amazing. And I only watched The Defenders because Daredevil was in that show. And I saw like maybe the first half of Jessica Jones, and then I just kind of fell off. But yeah, Daredevil's the clear highlight of the Netflix Marvel era, and I hope they either continue it or reboot it and just have the same cast.
Yeah, from I think the same statement when he was talking about beating people up. For some reason, I thought he said in the sewers, but it is in the streets. I think he alluded to if Daredevil would to be brought back, he believes it would be a reimagining. So like maybe a variant, or the MCU version is the prime one, and then the Netflix show is the variant of this Daredevil. Either way, Charlie Cox, hope you're getting a contract. Hope you signed one months ago. You know.
Imagine we get a Spider-Man Daredevil movie.
Please.
We
deserve
it.
Honestly, throw Shang-Chi in there and just have an awesome like combat movie. All three of them going on some journey.
That'd be excellent.
Yes. This also surprised me. This is a rumor floating around right now. Apparently, a Hulk movie is in the works.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did hear about this. Anytime I think about a Hulk movie, I'm like, man, the last Hulk movie was in 2008. Like, why don't they make those? I know like the whole Universal thing, but you would think like after Sony and Marvel figured it out, like Universal would be like, hey, we kind of want to do that.
Yeah, plus, like most people I feel like prefer Mark Ruffalo's Hulk over any version of Hulk we've seen on screen. And he just seems like he's a great presence of Bruce Banner. I feel like they have proven with the way they use Hulk in these movies that you can let him lead a film. It probably would be a little bit heavy on Bruce, but the strategy in the rumor is that it's going to be adapting World War Hulk, which is, I believe, similar to Planet Hulk. It's a space movie, and we saw how that worked out with Ragnarok. So if they can strike a balance of maybe not Professor Hulk, but more of that Ragnarok Hulk who is intelligent enough to speak, maybe have some inner dialogue with a Bruce Banner, they can play off each other. That could be really fun, and I'd be super down for that, especially after I felt that they kind of... They did Hulk the dirtiest in Endgame, I think. Outside of Natasha, they did Hulk the dirtiest.
Yeah, that's fair. We also got the teaser at the end of Shang-Chi where he was back to Bruce Banner, so I don't know how that affects this movie, but his character has seemingly changed since the last time we saw him.
Mm-hmm. And we do know he's supposed to appear in the She-Hulk series, which is coming out, I believe, next year.
Right.
The rumor is that the events of this World War Hulk movie would be continuing where Bruce leaves off in the She-Hulk series. So if this is true, we won't have to wait too long to see what's in store for Bruce Banner. I'm just kind of surprised that Mark Ruffalo is still down.
Dude, same. I thought that the She-Hulk show would essentially do what Hawkeye's doing for Jeremy Renner. Mm-hmm. Like basically sunsetting his character, presumably, and giving a new character that's very similar their time in the sun. Mm-hmm. But if this rumor is true, like he's getting a whole nother movie, I don't know, it's kind of surprising. You'd figure that the original actors, many of them are, but you'd assume that they'd kind of be ready to retire their MCU stuff for now, at least.
Yeah, and I think Bruce Banner, the performance for Mark Ruffalo, at least, is like based off the tech and behind the scenes stuff. It's really just acting as Bruce, like obviously he does the facial capture and stuff for Hulk, but that can be done on a soundstage or in a studio. So it's not like even a Robert Downey Jr. performance level of being front and center, having to do the stuff with the fake Iron Man suit on, eventually the ping pong balls, or Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth, right? Where they have to be ripped all the time. Ruffalo can just be a scientist, and he can just act as a scientist. So, considering what his role requires out of him, if he's down to keep doing it, if he wants to become sort of a connective tissue, like he popped up in Shang-Chi randomly, I'd be really into that, because obviously love Mark Ruffalo, and we're running low on people who could connect these movies at this point, That's
a good point. I think it would be nice to have his character as like kind of the last guy, and like not being I don't think he'll be like in a leadership role, but more just like a supportive character, which I think would be really cool to have one of the original Avengers just helping out the new guys. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, I would love to see that. So we'll wait and see what is up with Hulk. But Jack, believe it or not, that's really it for Marvel news this week.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we get into our Spider-Man review series, part 5, I think. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3.
Oh, man. We made it to this point, didn't we?
We did.
Dude, I went into this movie fully thinking it was not going to be as bad as people said it was. And I was like, honestly, I think this might even be better than one of the Venom movies. I was dead wrong. This movie is like not even joke. This is like one of the worst movies I've seen that has like a big budget sort of production. It is so overwhelming. The entire movie. It is just... It does not feel... It feels like a parody, honestly, to the previous two movies. And it's really bad.
So I don't have a huge history with Spider-Man 3. Like, I probably saw it like once or twice as a kid. I remember the marketing, like, being everywhere. The toys, the Halloween costumes. Like, I remember a lot about the surrounding elements of Spider-Man 3. But like I said, I only ever saw it, I think, like 1 or 2 times in my entire life before this week. So I don't have a nostalgia for this, because I have seen a narrative recently online where people are being like, Spider-Man 3 is misunderstood, and I went into this with those people in mind, and let me tell you, we understand it. We understand it perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, it's straight up like it's not even a fun bad movie. It is just not fun to watch. It's really an assault to the senses. Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say very briefly, did you ever play the Spider-Man 3 game?
Yeah, I don't remember it being as bad as people say it is, but I'm sure it really is really bad. I used to play that, yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was super fun.
I thought it was cool to go as symbiote Spider-Man and just get, be a little bit faster and be a little stronger.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I didn't play Spider-Man 2 growing up. I played the first Spider-Man movie game, and Spider-Man 3 eventually, but huge open world, very impressive at the time. It was a next-gen title. You could switch to the symbiote suit whenever. Like, you could fight Lizard in the game. Lizard wasn't in the movie, but he was in the game. It was pretty cool, and it's gifted us.
That's what that story needs, another villain.
Yeah, but I mean, like, in a game it works.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 20 hours.
I think Greg Miller reviewed that for IGN. Like, he reviewed the PS3 version and then the PS2 version, and then he gave the PS2 version, like, a 3.
Yeah, I played this on PS3, so...
Yeah, I was a PS2 guy, so I think it was, like, very much a different game.
It absolutely was, I can guarantee you.
So...
But yeah, why don't we get into Spider-Man 3, because, like you said, it's bad, but there are things I do really like in this movie, but most of it's bad.
I think there's stuff that has potential to be good in this movie. Like, you could see where they might have been going with things.
So, I mean, you said it feels like a parody. Out the gate, yep, that's me. Like... Yeah. There's this really corny music playing when the movie starts, too. Like,
yeah, that felt like not how a Spider-Man movie should start. It's very subdued.
And, like, the CG of him swinging, I thought did not look good.
Yeah.
Not even consistent with the other two, but, like, I don't love how it immediately hits the intro, but for everything it does for a while, I'm like, this isn't bad. This is fine, Yep. I gave 2 timestamps in my notes app, Jack.
Okay.
An hour, because I was going through this and I was like, similar to how I feel about Attack of the Clones last time I watched it, I was like, I'm waiting for this to get bad. Mm-hmm. An hour, 10 minutes, 50 seconds. We see Peter Parker walk down an alleyway, see himself in a mirror, and then give himself emo bangs. Yeah, and I was like, this has to be the turning point. This is it. And
I don't think the movie gets bad until Harry shows up as the Goblin. That was the point for me, where I was like, okay, this is bad.
Well, that's much sooner than
yeah.
Than I wrote down. But I think, like, the first hour and change of the movie is, I think, inoffensive. It's just kind of messy, where Spider-Man 1 and 2 are goofy, and Harry is just kind of a big goof, and there's all this stuff going on of the symbiote, and then it disappears for like 40 minutes, and then there's the stuff with Sandman. Like, there are so many moving parts to this movie that I think I was fine with it until they all started coalescing, and then it was just like, oh god, like, any emotional threads you had completely fall apart at a certain point, which I'll get to later. That's my other timestamp. But
the movie just asks so much of the audience. There are so many threads to keep track of that there are points where you'll see Sandman pop up again and be like, oh man, I forgot about you. We were on another character for so long. We were like riding the Eddie train and totally forgot about you. It's just way too overwhelming to watch.
So let me hit you with the things I like from the first hour.
Mm-hmm.
We'll build up to it, but do I like anything outside the thing I was going to build up to? No, I do. I like Sandman.
Yes.
I think Sandman is a good villain for a third movie. I think it's very clear. Sam Raimi wanted to make this movie about Sandman and then like conclude the Harry storyline. But based off reports and everything we know, like it was symbiote and Venom got shoved into this thing. I think for the most part, every scene with Sandman I think is good. And I think is working towards concluding a lot of what Spider-Man 1 and 2 set up. In the first hour, I think they carry some really interesting things from Spider-Man 2, mainly Peter's kind of a jerk, like pre-symbiote. He's pretty negligent to MJ. He's letting the fame get to his head. He's strayed very far from Uncle Ben's teachings. And specifically, like immediately following up the end of Spider-Man 2, which is that thing you and I both geeked over last week with MJ just having that graduate moment, I was really into it. I was like, oh yeah, Peter... Like in other media, Peter can be a jerk at times, but he's like completely oblivious, and that's really interesting because so much of his emotional stuff in this movie is tied to confronting his baggage and his sins of like stuff with Harry and the unresolved stuff with Uncle Ben's killer. So like, I believe Sam Raimi probably wanted to make a movie that was a critical look at Peter Parker, and he would have done that through the stuff with Harry, the stuff with Sandman, because at least with Sandman, the emotional stuff hits. With Harry, I never liked Harry, really. He's kind of just goofy, but if that's the way they wanted to wrap up these threads from the trilogy, I think everything they show here works towards that, but it falls apart when we just keep getting further into the movie.
I genuinely think Sandman had the potential to be the most compelling villain of the trilogy. Mm-hmm. Like, Goblin we know is a wash compared to Doc Ock. He's just kind of silly for the majority of that movie. Doc Ock was interesting, left a little bit to be desired, like a little zany at points, but I think is a genuinely strong villain for Peter. And Sandman too is in that same boat, I'd say, maybe even more so. Like he's very much like not a bad guy. And like very, very much trying to do things. He's doing bad things for a good reason, and he's just it's very unfortunate, like the circumstance he finds himself in. And I think if that was the focus, if he was just the guy,
dude,
this movie honestly would have been probably pretty good. And like you remove everything else, but he got shafted. I think.
Absolutely. Like if it was just a Sandman movie and it focused on like Peter as a character. Because I feel like there's not even that much Spider-Man in this movie. If it really just zoned in on Peter, his character flaws, him dealing with all these things that the trilogy has set up that maybe aren't great about Peter Parker, and we explore Sandman, I honestly think it could have maybe been at least as good as Spider-Man 2.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. I like... On paper, I like the interpersonal conflict between Peter and MJ. I think him having absolutely no self-awareness for any of his actions and how they have ramifications could have been interesting, but on screen, he is really dumb. Like, why would you do the upside-down kiss in front of MJ? Like, any person knows. I think like if they had a different scene or a different situation where she gets to that point of her being extremely fed up with Peter, then that would do it. But like, man, him doing that, like, how would you not realize? I think that took it a little too far for me. But I think on paper that would have been interesting to see. And I like how at the end, like, at least if I'm forgetting, they're not together, and that's interesting. Like, yeah, they were together at the end of 2. It was kind of melancholic, and now because of his actions, he doesn't have the girl.
Yeah, and I think like that again, it's a lot of trying to see what would have been because of all of the things they have planted in this movie, but I really do think because like another thing Peter has to do, and he actually does in the movie, is sort of come to terms with the fact that he killed a guy that didn't kill Uncle Ben, so he just murdered someone. Accomplice, yes, but he still murdered somebody, and I think that's what this movie was supposed to be. It was about Peter realizing what's wrong with himself, and because Uncle Ben is at play here, I really feel like that was supposed to be the motif of everything, how Spider-Man 2 is just like work life, trying to find a balance. This one would have been about like understanding you can't be perfect and everything, because after 2 Spider-Man movies, meta and in universe, everybody loves this guy. Peter was always a nerd and a dork and hated, and he gets power, he gets attention, it gets to his head, and I think that's really interesting to explore and tie the whole trilogy together when you bring it back to great power, great responsibility, and what Aunt May says in this about like a husband making sure like he can be aware of things before he commits to having a wife. Like, there's so many things that would have connected the trilogy so well, and then Venom shows up and it all falls apart.
Yeah, like this is, I think, this maybe is the reason for our concerns about No Way Home. This really feels like it does not feel like a Sam Raimi movie. Like,
no,
I feel like the only bits that this feels like a Sam Raimi movie is like the references to like the 70s and 60s with the atrocious dance scene, which is like that would not be in a regular Sam Raimi movie. That's like very much like hammed up. But like even the cinematography and like the look of this movie, it's like too clean. It's too bright.
Yeah, saturated.
Very saturated. And obviously we already know like the studio got involved and they wanted Venom and all this kind of stuff, and it was just like completely ruined the movie. But that's it. It's sad because you would think at the beginning of a trilogy the studio would have more control, and as it goes on the director would gain some more, but that's like the exact opposite of what happened here.
The thing I want to shout out that I do really, really like about this movie, it's a specific scene that I think is the best acting and chemistry between Toby and Kirsten Dunst in the entire trilogy, I think. And it's the scene at the French restaurant. I really liked that. I was like, damn, they're putting in work right now. It feels like this is a real relationship, and they actually are having problems. Toby's actually acting like a person, like a bad person, but like that entire scene I thought was so well done, especially like with the Bruce Campbell bit of like just it just worked so well for me, and I was like, this entire scene is like a perfect bubble of like Spider-Man, where because of Peter being Spider-Man, this is the situation he's in, and he had it planned to go one way, it completely fell apart, and I think that is the best scene in the movie, I think, and my favorite scene in the movie, and my favorite scene of the two of them.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like you can place that scene, like if that was in, and it made sense contextually in any of the other 2 movies, I feel like that feels like a good scene in those movies. In terms of like things that we liked from this movie, I actually really liked the scene where Peter and Aunt May were in the like police barracks, and the dude was like sort of telling him what actually happened. I thought the editing in that scene was like particularly really good, where They flash back to Uncle Ben getting shot, and when the gunshot goes off, it's all in black and white. But when the gunshot goes off, it like there's like a little bit of color for a little bit as he flashes and falls down. It sort of intersplices between Peter remembering that day and like the discussion that the police officer is having. And I actually think his acting's really good in that scene. So that was probably the one scene where I was like, I actually really like this.
Also, really love the Sandman transformation, like the way they shot that. It's just really kind of sad, like, and that kind of is the end of what I enjoyed. And the thing is, like, all this other stuff that we're talking about right now that like worked a little well, it was spliced between just a lot of goofiness and silliness, and I was like, okay, this is at least on the level of like a Spider-Man 1. And then the thing that broke me, the other timestamp, Jack. Let's see. An hour, 47 minutes, 37 seconds. Oh yeah, I know all about you. That is Venom's voice.
Yep, sure is.
Because that's the thing. That's where it all like folds together right there. The last 40 minutes of this movie are like an assault, and just it hurts. I like anything good they had with Sandman up to that point. Anything that I really enjoyed of Peter being a jackass and having to face his own consequences all falls apart when they muddle it up with Venom, and then Harry gets involved with everything. And yeah, dude, as cool as it, and the thing is, I thought it was going to be cool watching Peter rip the symbiote off from memory. That sucked. That was bad.
Yeah, because you have the same stupid scene where Eddie is praying to God to kill Peter Parker, and it's like, what are you doing, Peter? So stupid, dude. Oh, God. I think I have two notes that are back-to-back to each other. One of them is Harry is the worst, and the immediate one beneath that is Eddie is also the worst. I think those are the two. Those characters are the things that really make this movie bad. I don't buy Harry becoming the new Goblin, like going through, okay, I guess he's a scientist now and perfected the serum. Sure. Okay. I know that's a dumb movie thing, but I still don't buy that. And he also acts high this entire movie. Like, after the head, he's just, like, completely...
I know.
Like, completely baked out of his mind. Also, he's, like, Pablo Picasso at some point and is painting these crazy paintings. Oh, God. That was the worst.
Spider-Man 2, he was drunk the whole time, and it was funny. This one, he was... I genuinely cannot believe, on top of everything this movie does, they also give one of the main characters amnesia. Like, it's just... Want me to tell you, like, one of the only images that stuck with me in this movie, or, like, going into this movie from when I saw it all these years ago?
What's that?
For some reason, I remembered, like, the Venom scream when the camera goes in. Yeah. I remembered, at least, like, one other actual Spider-Man thing. But I also vividly remember, I was like, oh yeah, Harry and MJ, like, make eggs in this movie. They make an omelet together. That is one of the things I remembered when I hit play. I was like, I wonder when that happens.
Ugh, what a scene. And that's, like, what makes him remember. Like, they, like, kiss and they go their separate ways, and then he's upset that he did something wrong, and then he hears the thing from his dad. So, pivotal scene in this movie.
I just, like, genuinely, I think up until the last, like, 45 minutes of the movie, I was prepared to come on here and be like, you know what, it's still not good, but I don't think it's bad. It's bad.
It's really bad. I saw your Letterboxd score. We gave it the exact same rating of 1.5.
Yeah, because, like, at a certain point, maybe like an hour in, I was going to be like, I can defend a 3. And then it went to a 2.
Yeah, man.
And then Venom spoke, and then it was a 1.5.
I was really hoping I would go back, like how a lot of people went back to the prequels and were like, you know what? There's actually like a lot of good stuff going on here. That is not the case for this movie. I don't want to ever see this movie again. Like, it's not even fun. Not even fun to watch. It is just completely bad.
Yeah, dude. It's been like 12 years for me. I'm good for another 12.
Yep. You know what this feels like? This feels like they gave the third movie in this franchise to just a random director. They were like, you know what? Sam Raimi did his thing. Let's continue this franchise and let's give it to this schmuck who has like 2 credits on IMDb. That's what this feels like. It's awful.
Not to keep dogging on it, right? But like, the thing that sucks, and I was surprised that outside of a very tiny thing, this did not hit for me at all. In the last like 15 minutes of this movie, when there's supposed to be these triumphant moments, and I love Toby, I love the other 2 movies, and there's so much about just the aesthetic of the Sam Raimi trilogy that I love and am nostalgic for. But in the last, like I said, 15 minutes, when they're doing all these triumphant moments, when it's supposed to be like, oh, he gets the red suit back, and what else is going on? And there's supposed to be these big moments. It's like, yeah, Spidey, and it's like another American flag shot.
Before it's the most egregious one.
He goes to save the day, and he's back. I felt nothing for all of that, with the exception when he held the suit up and then they played the Danny Elfman theme. I was like, yeah, but that was like a tiny thing. For the rest of it, I felt nothing. I felt very similar when credits hit for this movie to the way I felt when The Rise of Skywalker ended.
Yeah, I think this is way worse than Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, it's worse. It's worse. I think The Rise of Skywalker is at least fun. Like, it's fun. I would rewatch that movie. I've seen it like 3 times. And I will probably see it at least 10 more in my life. Maybe more. Probably more. This, I'm good. Like, I think I'm good for life with this, honestly.
There's like very little to mine from this movie. Mostly, I think, being Sandman. And that's kind of it.
Minor, but I like the direction they took with Jameson in this one. I thought it was fun. Just like, you know, he hams it up in the first 2. He plays the exact same Jameson both times. 2, he has in the deleted scene at least like a little bit more to work with. But in this one, because of like, oh, he's got blood pressure problems or something, he's supposed to reel it back, and just seeing J.K. Simmons play with that, I thought was fun.
Yeah, that was a good scene in the Bugle with the pills.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. And like, the thing is, there are small things that I like, but even if they stack up, they do not save it, because like, is there a moment for you from the, I guess, second half that's just particularly bad?
I mean, of course there's the dancing scene like that. I also love how like, some people think he is cool. Like, this is people thinking that Peter's cool, but there are also people who are like, what is this asshole doing?
No,
did appreciate that.
I'm with you. I love that, because they don't put a focus on it, but like, anytime he walks by a woman, she just gives him a dirty look, and he thinks he's cool. I really liked that. That was fun.
Yeah, some people do look back actually thinking he's cool, which, what are you doing? I think the scene that's probably the worst is the scene where him and Gwen go to the club that Mary Jane is working at. And this is him really, like, this is the movie saying Peter Parker's really cool and doing everything it possibly can to prove that is not true. Like, going up to the waitress up front and find us some shade was, I think, his quote, and slipped her like a 20. And I think, like, she gave him a glance being like, what are you talking about? But no, whatever. I guess I'll get you a table.
That's
it's so ridiculous.
I kind of appreciate it in a way, though, because, like, I feel like they don't put a focus on it because it's a movie about Peter, right? And he thinks he's the cool guy right now. It's so ridiculous, and like in the background, at least most people I saw, I think I saw anybody admiring him. Like, I think Sam Raimi's aware of it in a way. Like, I think it was a choice to do this because he thinks he's the cool one, but like, he also thinks that everything he's done so far in the movie is correct, and the symbiote amplifying all that stuff. Like, he was a dick at the beginning of the movie, and he is straight up like manipulative, abusive when he gets the symbiote. So like, cranking that up all the way, it is ridiculous to just do that in the middle of your movie. But I think there was an awareness of it. I just think it did not come across the way it was intended.
No.
Maybe.
No. There are some characters that genuinely think, wow, Peter Parker is the coolest cat in town. Betty
Sure.
thinks that. I don't know. But that scene in particular, I think is even worse than the dancing scene. He also learns how to play piano all of a sudden. That was the takeaway from that scene for me. Where did you learn how to do that?
Mm-hmm. I think the reason why I was so crushed when credits hit last night was because, like I said, there were some things that I thought I could defend with the movie, but then it just drops. Like, even something like a Venom, which I acknowledge, maybe it's not good, or again, like a Rise of Skywalker. I think with those movies, for me at least, there's at least like when it starts, it sets the tone, and you know what you're in for. Here, like, outside of the actual beginning of the movie, which is bad, there are some elements that's like, there are some highs, for me at least, in the first like hour or so. And then it just gets so low, and it does not stop going low. So it just feels worse.
Yeah. My takeaway from this movie, obviously it's bad, but after finishing credits, I immediately texted you and was like, man, I hope after No Way Home presumably introduces Tom Holland to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, I honestly just hope, if it is Sony's plan, which it probably is, that they want to make as many Spider-Man movies as possible, I hope they just let Sam Raimi make Spider-Man 4 and like just give him full control, because like they know this was a giant mistake. Like, people would show if they just said Spider-Man 4, like, people know and they will show up. And they let Sam Raimi direct a sequel to this movie that's like years later, and we're dealing with an older Spider-Man that is similar to like Peter B. Parker in where Peter B. Parker finds himself in Spider-Verse. Like, I think that's a really interesting idea. And I feel like with Sam Raimi doing Doctor Strange, like, he's already directing an MCU movie, and I feel like he could definitely direct another superhero movie, even if it's in Sony's own Spider-Man universe. Like, that would be really cool. And that's kind of my thought after watching this movie.
Yeah, ever since the possibility of, I guess, Spider-Verse was brought up, even like with the animated one, when they announced it, and it was like, oh, they're actually doing a Spider-Verse project in real life, I've always had the hope that, like, what would stop them from just making it again, like doing Spider-Man 4? Like, for all the Terminator reboots, and like, oh, this one didn't count, this is the actual Terminator 3, like, for all those things, for the number of reboots everybody's had, like, I don't know what would keep them from doing that outside of the talent not wanting to do it, you know? Like, I think you're completely right. I do hope, and I've had a growing hope, maybe foolishly, ever since the Toby rumors began, and Andrew, that both of them would get a new project. Like, let Andrew get an Amazing Spider-Man 3, or for a while I was hoping he was going to be the Spider-Man for the Venom movies. Give Sam Raimi a Spider-Man 4 to just wrap it all up, or set up another arc for an older Peter. But like, yeah, I feel like there's a world where if they each have like close to an hour of screen time in No Way Home, they just count that as their endings. But I do hope, like, there's room, you know? We can do this. There's about to be 3 Batmans in major movies over the next, like, 2 years, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I genuinely think Sony doesn't care about, like, confusion. And,
Nope.
like, I think a lot of studios at this point don't care about confusion. Because, like, I think a lot of audiences will just get it. A lot won't, and probably most won't, but they're still going to show up, right? So, like, if you want to release Spider-Man 4 and then the next year release The Amazing Spider-Man 3, like, do it. If that's the direction they're going for. And it does seem like that is at least a possibility. Like what you said, the people involved need to be down for it, obviously, but, like, that's not out of the question. So I would love to see a Spider-Man 4, like, 13 years later. That'd be cool.
Do you think they'd adapt the original plan for 4? Like, would they get Mysterio and Vulture?
I think you get the silly... I think the Mysterio bit would have been at the beginning of the movie, Spider-Man, like, arrests him, and then they take off the mask, and it's Bruce Campbell. Like, it's just an extended bit. So I could see that happening. I don't think they go... I mean, I guess they could go Vulture, but they've already done that with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
I think you go Black Cat to have that sort of, like, dichotomy. I feel like that'd be really interesting because we haven't seen that really. And then I don't know what villain you do for that movie.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, I feel like they've done, like, they could do, like, Shocker, but that wouldn't be exciting because, like, we've seen Shocker. We're about to see him again. And Lizard? Yeah, what's the actor who played Connor's doing?
Yeah, right.
You know? But, yeah, I think while this movie hurt me and I would be completely fine never watching it again in my life, I still like parts of it, even though it is one of the messiest things I've ever spent 2.5 hours watching in my life.
I did not go into this movie with the expectation I was going to have the thoughts I'm having right now, but yeah, it's colossally horrible. There's very little to like about this movie. Very little.
I made a statement last night, Jack. I did a TikTok at like 1 a.m. just saying like how shitty this movie was. And granted, I haven't seen Amazing Spider-Man 2 in probably like 5 years, but I'll be surprised if that movie is worse than this. Because at least that one, I liked the Peter and Gwen stuff. So like this, barely redeeming stuff. So like I'll be very surprised if something is worse than this. Because I left the movie, or I was in my bed. I stopped watching this, and I truly felt dead inside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
I don't think it can get worse.
Sunday. I watched this on a scary Sunday, dude. Not good.
So, would you like to get to ranking this thing?
Yeah. To your Amazing Spider-Man 2 comment, I'm going in with the expectation that those are better. Both of those are better than Spider-Man 1.
Spider-Man 1, damn. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see, though. Like, I like those movies. Those are good movies.
I do as well. I mean, we're going to be talking about Amazing Spider-Man next week, but I have many, 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 many good things to say about elements of those movies, so
good.
I'm excited. We gave our star rankings. We each gave Spider-Man 3 1.5 stars. Did you think about going lower?
No, because the thing was, I guess I had rated this movie before, and that's what popped up, and I was like, you know what, Pass Jack, great score. I'm just gonna keep using that. It could be lower. Like at that point, once you get below a 2, anything's the same, in my opinion. So like, this could be a 1, right? I gave it 1.5 for Sandman.
I think everything between a 0.5 star and a 2 is the same, because a 0.5 star, like when you hit a 0.5 star on something, it is like there's intent there, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think I've given anything a 0.5 star.
I've given one film a 0.5 star,
What was that?
It was a German film called Die Wand. It translates to The Wall. I watched it in a film class. I hated it. The entire class was giving our teaching assistant so much crap for the rest of the week because it was terrible.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
I think the lowest movie I gave a 1 to Justice League, I think. 2017's Justice League. Yeah, that movie honestly may be one of my least favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, it's not good. Our rankings thus far, I think are the same, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I imagine that's going to continue because Spider-Man 3 is last for me.
Yeah, there's really no contest here. Like, I was before like we saw Venom, I was like, there's a chance Spider-Man 3 could be better than Venom. No, it's like not even funny to joke about that. Like, I don't like Venom. I think there's some competencies that movie has that this movie does not even come close to.
Because with Venom, like, at least for me, when I'm watching Venom, I'm having fun. And I would like to rewatch those movies in my life. Some of the highs of this are probably, like, just overall maybe better than any of the highs in Venom for, like, some of the acting. Maybe. The restaurant scene really did a lot for me. But yeah, Venom's got that consistency. It doesn't dip. This dips. So yeah, this is worse.
Yeah, Venom's bad for half the movie, then it's like kind of good, like kind of decent for the second half. But this doesn't have that ever.
You'd always prefer something to just get better as it goes.
Yeah.
Rather than, jumping off a cliff and it's still falling. I finished the movie at 1 a.m. It's still going. Still dropping.
Oh, man. That's a movie you don't want to stay up late watching.
No. When it comes to the rest of the rankings, though, we have our Spidey ranking. Toby is still number 1. I think this movie's pretty damning for his chances moving forward.
Yeah.
Currently, the villain ranking is number 1, Doc Ock, number 2, Goblin, number 3, Carnage, and number 4, Riot. We got a host of villains to rank right now.
Let's start with Venom, because I feel like we know where that one's going.
Venom is bottom tier.
Yeah, dead last.
It's the voice, Jack. It's the voice they gave him, because they didn't give him a voice.
Also, why Topher Grace?
Yeah. And didn't he leave That 70 Show to do this?
He definitely left That 70 Show, and I'm sure it was... I'm sure this was one of the projects. He was like, you know what? This is my big break.
Like, not only did he ruin the character of Venom in this movie, well, maybe he didn't, but the writing and everything, like, he went to this project, no positivity out of it, and he also ruined That 70 Show by leaving. So, like, just a whole clusterfuck.
Poor guy. I think he's in a good show now that I don't watch. But
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
He's also in Ocean's 11.
That's really funny.
For like a second, Brad Pitt's character is teaching celebrities how to play poker, and Topher Grace plays himself.
Wow. That's cool. I've never seen those movies.
Oh, okay. First one's incredible. It's one of my favorite movies ever. You don't gotta see the other two.
Okay.
Next up, let's do New Goblin. New Gobby.
Okay. Where's Riot and who's above Riot?
Riot is above Venom and Carnage is above Riot.
Oh. I would say Harry is above Riot.
Yeah, because if we're talking like villains doing villainous things, I don't know if a single villain on this list did something more cruel than Harry's really only villainous act, which is like, hey, I'm threatening you basically at gunpoint, MJ. You have to break up with him so I can get to his heart. And then immediately after, he invites him for coffee. And then he just shits all over his best friend. And the pie moment was something else. So
how's the pie? So good.
Truly, I don't think there was a more cruel thing that one of these villains on this list has done.
Sure. Where would you put him?
Above Riot, below Carnage.
All right, yeah.
Because again, like, Carnage at least has some consistency,
Sure.
Not that it's good, but It's consistent.
Yeah.
Sandman.
This is tough.
I agree.
Like, the potential of Sandman, I think in the movie, until he meets Venom in the alley scene, which is a ridiculous scene, I feel like until that point, he is probably the best villain.
Mm-hmm.
Or potentially could have been the best villain. But after that, it's like a little silly.
Well, the thing is, like, Sandman's ending I also really love.
That's good, too.
Like, I think there's just a 10-minute stint in there from the alleyway to the moment where he's like, hey, you know what, kid? I'm sorry. You don't gotta forgive me, but I'm sorry. I just have bad luck. And, like, that entire scene, love that. When he fades into the wind, he's kind of just like, all right, I found my peace. I really love that. Everything before the alley with Sandman, I think, is some of the stronger stuff in the movie. But he disappears for, like, 30, 40 minutes after he gets turned into cement. So...
That's so funny. Yeah, that's the point in the movie where he comes back, like, from the pond or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot you're in this movie.
So, for me, it's nostalgia talking, but I would put him below Goblin.
Yeah, I was going to say above Goblin, but...
I mean, you can make a case, because I am aware Goblin as a villain is kind of just a cartoon. I love Willem Dafoe's performance. I think Thomas Hayden Church, his performance here is, like, really emotional and really good. Everything he does is great. So, like, I could hear a case if you want to make it.
I honestly am not too strong about it. I think with Willem Dafoe's character, he has more of a focus in that movie, obviously, and, like, there are some really great scenes of him acting against himself in the mirror, which I think are great. Mm-hmm. He's got some good lines. He's really silly, really ridiculous. But I think there's enough to like about his character, maybe more so than Sandman, that can edge him over. I feel like Sandman really could have been the, like, subdued villain that you kind of side with in this trilogy, but that was kind of squandered. So I'm comfortable putting him below Goblin.
Sure, yeah. I'm cool with that. Potential to be up with Doc Ock, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Just butchered and botched.
He would have been such a good, like, close him out with all the Uncle Ben stuff. Like, you close off that loop. It's sad.
Because the thing is, it everything that they do with that and with the Uncle Ben stuff, I think is really good. It just, they don't give it the room to actually have meaning. And that's when Peter gets his triumphant thing. Like, it feels like they didn't build up to it. It just happened. It's like, oh, never mind.
Yep.
And they just flip a switch. So.
Sad movie. Everything about this movie is just so sad.
Yep. As it stands, last place is Spider-Man 3, fourth place is Venom 2018, third place is Venom Let There Be Carnage, second place is Spider-Man, and first place is Spider-Man 2. I think that's our shared list and the Excelsior list. So next week is Amazing Spider-Man 1. Curious if we're going to keep lining up on that.
Yeah, this movie I remember seeing a couple years ago and being like, I don't think I ever, like, disliked it, but there were some things about the movie that just didn't sit right with me. But I remember being like, you know what, it's not as bad as, like, people claim it is. I feel like these movies are overhated. So interested to see how we feel.
Hell yeah. Well, Jack, until then, where can the agents of Excelsior find you?
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter at FascinatedJack. What about you, Christian?
Find me on Twitter and TikTok at Chun2D2. Haven't been Twitch streaming a lot lately, so I'm just going to put that on the back burner for now. But I post pretty regularly on TikTok and Twitter, so you can find me, like I said, at Chun2D2. The show, you can find on Twitter at ExcelsiorJC. Check out our schedule for every Spider-Man movie leading up to No Way Home. And we'll tweet out when episodes go live on youtube.com/joyclicks for the video version and audio versions on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever you listen to for your podcast. You can find us there. Just look up Excelsior or Avengers Game or Marvel Avengers Podcast. You'll find us eventually. Or Joyclicks. If you want to support the shows, you can go to patreon.com/joyclicks at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 will give you producer credit on this show and every show we do, like Aaron Easton and Charles Applin, so thank you very much. And that is another Spider-Man movie in the books. The Tobey era is over. The Andrew era is about to begin. And then we get a good palate cleanser, because I think we're doing Spider-Verse before the Tom movies, so it's going to be nice.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, until then, Excelsior, it's pizza time.
Excelsior, it's pizza time.
Got you there, didn't I?
You did.